to stop the clocks because I couldn't bear the ticking. I dropped out of school. Weeks, then months passed. I would sit for days on our front porch in the hot sun. I was fading away, mentally and physically. Nothing mattered. In a last-ditch effort, my parents sent me to visit my sister, who had made it to the Wharton School in Philadelphia. I remember sitting on a bench watching students pouring in and out of the bookstore. They were getting books and supplies to go back to school for fall semester. Back to school. I knew I could never be happy in a classroom, not anymore. I had to do something. But what? Sitting on that bench outdoors in the late afternoon, I had an inkling of an idea, an inkling that turned into a life's devotion. Heaven threw me a rope, and even though I didn't realize it at the time, I grabbed it. Yes, I went back to school, but teaching literature was no longer an option for me. My one burning goal was to somehow get into law school and then fight crime with all my might. I had only one reference to present to the law school admissions department from my Sunday school teacher. I remember riding by the law school and seeing the lights burning in the library into the night and wondering if I could possibly get in, wondering if good grades and a letter from a Sunday school teacher could possibly be enough. And then I got a letter. It was sitting in our black metal mailbox at the end of our driveway near the road, which had finally been paved over just a few years before. The pavement is important because when I opened the letter and read it, I remember the hard asphalt when I went down on my knees and thanked God I got in. Before my first day of law school, I actually had to look up the definitions of plaintiff and defendant. It took me 7 years before I struck my first jury and tried my first jury trial in inner-city Atlanta, which was at the time one of the murder capitals of the country. For the next 10 years, I had a life very different from the way it was before or after. For 10 years, an ordinary person like me had an extraordinary opportunity to speak for those who could not speak for themselves and be their voice in courts of law. Fighting crime is nothing like what you see on TV and in movies. Being on a real murder scene is something I wish on no one. The sight, the smell, the malice hanging in the air is something I never forget. It sticks with you. Other cases stuck in my heart. I remember a little girl with 100 pigtails on her head, just 3 feet tall. She was the victim of repeated rapes by Mommy's boyfriend. Turned out he had been molesting young girls for 30 years. I found 7 of them and brought similar transactions before the jury when the little girls were too afraid to testify. But they did. I remember Miss Leola, the mom of a teen boy, gunned down in cold blood over $10, knitting during the trial when testimony was too raw, or crime scene photos and bloody clothes were too unsettling for her to look up. But Miss Leola wouldn't leave, not during witnesses, not during arguments, not during jury selection, not during graphic photos of her son on the autopsy table, as the medical examiner testified to mortal wounds. Standing at the jury rail, I looked over at her, sitting in the very first row behind me. Miss Leola would look right back at me, smile, and continue knitting, urging me on. She gave me strength, and even the recollection of her renews me. I remember so many families of murder victims.